Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Live Ones. It is Thursday, November 4th, 2021, and just as the baseball season ends, we are 5 days away from the start of college hoops. And man, if you think keeping track of 130 D1 football teams is tough when you're capping, try 351 D1 college basketball teams, particularly when star players park themselves in programs for 1 year and then are off to the NBA draft. And instead of 10 D1 football conferences, try 32 D1 basketball ones. It's maddening sometimes. Really requires an extreme digesting of stats and a solid gut sense, especially early on in the season. But we will get to that next week. Headlines today: Buster Posey announced his retirement from Major League Baseball after 13 years. Really the linchpin of the Giants during their 3 World Series titles in 2010, 2012, and 2014. Naturally, there's a whole host of discussion this morning about whether or not he's a Hall of Famer. Certainly has a lifetime slash line to be on offense in terms of just pure contact hitting and base running, but like a lot of catchers, just doesn't have the homers and the RBIs to his name. Consensus seems to be if he deserves to be in, then so do Jorge Posada and Yadier Molina. This is why the sports writers have jobs, folks, to just debate this kind of stuff endlessly. We had a losing night last night. Just about everyone we backed fell apart. Frederick Anderson had an off night for the Hurricanes, and unders just continue to dominate the NBA. We're still slightly up for the week with lots of week left to go. Lots of action tonight. Let's get right to it with Thursday night football, the Jets and the Colts. The Jets and Western Kentucky Hilltopper Mike White shocked the world for their 34-31 victory over the Bengals on Sunday as 11.5-point underdogs. Ruined a whole lot of survivor pools, I know, among my friends. White absolutely lit up the Bengals, going 37 for 45 for 405 yards with 3 touchdowns. I think it's a safe bet the starting job is his until even when he screws things up. The Colts are coming off a devastating defeat last week. They lost 34-31 to the Titans in overtime, thanks to a pair of awful interceptions from Carson Wentz. But it's the AFC South, and Derrick Henry is now gone for the year for the Titans. 8-9 is going to win that division, folks. It's a really, really, really bad division. So the Colts are going to keep rolling with the shell-shocked interception machine for the time being. The Jets' win last week definitely had an impact on this week's line. Prior to Sunday, the look-ahead lines had the Jets as 14.5-point underdogs. Now they're only 10.5-point underdogs against the Colts. The total opened up at 47. It's down to 46.5. There's absolutely no way, even with White's game last week and how soft the Colts' pass defense is, it's 22nd in the league, that I'm going to touch aside on this game. Just way too much overreaction from the line movement. It was one game. To address it in a capping sense, we do not want to overreact. We want to just see if White can sustain this. I'm also not backing Carson Wentz to come through in any spot whatsoever. It's Carson Wentz. But I really do like the total on this game. The Colts have scored 30 or more points in 3 straight games. The Jets absolutely suck at every aspect of the defensive side of the game. They're 28th in pass defense, 27th in rush defense, 30th in opponent scoring. They've allowed 29.4 points per game, which is just insanity at the NFL level. Between Jonathan Taylor at running back and Michael Pittman at receiver, the Colts should be able to constantly change up targets, spread the ball around, and walk all over the sorry Jets defense for at least 4 touchdowns. And if White is even half as good as he looked last week against this weak Colts secondary, the Jets should get you to the rest of the way to that total. I see this as a likely 31-20 or a 31-17 win for the Colts, so give me the over 46.5 tonight. So then moving on to the NHL, we're going to take a look at 2 games tonight, and the first is the Capitals and the Panthers. Florida, what an amazing start to the season they've had. They've posted an 8-0-1 record, plus 18 goal differential in the early going of the season off the strength of that amazing front line of Alexander Barkov and Jonathan Huberdeau, leading an offense that's one of the tops in the league with 4 goals per game. And Sergei Bobrovsky, maybe playing the best goaltending of his entire career to date in this whole stretch here. This guy is known for being a little bit of an expensive disappointment between the pipes, particularly since he signed this big contract with the Panthers. Frankly, I think his best years are behind him, and he's due for a regression. This cannot last the whole season, the way that he's been playing. So enter the Washington Capitals and their stellar goal-scoring duo of Ovechkin and Kuznetsov, who just have been playing out of their minds in the early going, and they've had to, because they've been without Nicholas Backstrom at center and TJ Oshie for extended periods in the early going. They've really had to rely on that first line because they just don't have a whole lot of particular depth in the lines underneath it right now. And the Caps still haven't figured out their goalie situation. The Caps' past 3 games have seen a bit of a slowing down of their offense, but I think they can easily get back up to form tonight. So give me the over 5.5 goals tonight with these two high-octane offenses and average to poor defense. And then the second NHL game we're going to look at tonight is on the West Coast. It's the Sabres and the Kraken. The Sabres got off to a surprisingly strong 3-0 start this season, and then they became the Sabres that we all know. Dropping 4 out of their last 6 games. Their offense has been virtually non-existent in their last 5, notching less than 30 shots on goal every single one of those 5 games. Even by their standards, that's pretty weak sauce. Without Jack Eichel in their lineup, they've just had no attack of any kind in the other team's zone. Seattle is leaning into its defense early in the first season, their first season as a franchise. They've allowed just 26.7 shots per game, which is good for second in the league. And they've needed it as their offense has had all sorts of trouble getting goals, despite notching a whole lot of shots so far. With Buffalo wrapping up a West Coast road trip here, the long slog, the travel, I think there's no reason to suspect that they're going to manage to get it right tonight against this Kraken defense. So I'm going to take the under 5.5 goals here. This feels like a 2-1 or a 3-2 Kraken win tonight. So then finally, we're going to take a look at the NBA. It's a short slate tonight, but one of the games that I do like is the Sixers and the Pistons. And hey, this makeshift Sixers team has been all kinds of fun to watch, haven't they? They've won 4 straight, and they've covered their last 3 in pretty impressive fashion. An injured Embiid, no Simmons, no Harris, no Danny Green. No problem, apparently. Andre Drummond's really been stepping up. Sixers still have a top 8 defense and a top 8 offense despite being this shorthanded. Their accuracy has been absolutely stellar. They're best in the league in field goal percentage, 3rd in the league in 3-point percentage, and 3rd in the league in free throw percentage. They play that slow, deliberate pace, control the clock, set all of their shots exactly like they need to, and they execute. Honestly, they look like an entirely different team without Ben Simmons there. And you know me, I've been critical of Ben Simmons, but not as much as some of these maniacs in Philadelphia are. All they're missing is a rebound game now, which is definitely going to become noticeable as they get up there into the postseason and face the elite class of the league. But the Pistons, wow. These guys couldn't buy a bucket to save their lives. Dead last offense in the league in points and free throw percentage. Also a bad rebounding team on top of it. And it's compounding frustration upon frustration. Their last 2 games, they've been absolutely blown out. The Nets blew them out 117-91. The Bucks blew them out 117-89. And Milwaukee was playing without 3 starters on Tuesday, but they led from wire to wire. These 2 teams played last week, and the Sixers defense absolutely smothered them through the first 3 quarters. They only allowed 67 points. There's no reason they can't do it again tonight, even with how shorthanded they are. Give me the Sixers on the first half, minus 2.5 points. I want to allow for garbage time points at the end, like we saw in that game as well. So I don't want to take the minus 5 on the full game. First half is the much safer play. That is my 4th and final play for tonight. Everyone bet safe, stay safe. Follow us on Twitter at Live One Sports. Check us out on Roku and Fire TV at the Live Ones. Have yourselves a great Thursday, and we will see you tomorrow.